Also with us today, we have Professor Miki Yamamoto, who is on faculty at the Aoyamagakuin University in Tokyo, and she is here representing the Hymn Society in Japan. Dr. Yamamoto specializes in musicology and music education and is currently researching the hymns found in children's Christian magazines since the 1900s.
Hello, everyone. I'm Miki Yamamoto, Professor of Music Education and Musicology in Graduate School of Education, Psychology, and Human Studies at Aoyamagakuin University in Tokyo. Thank you all for giving me such a precious opportunity. Today, I would like to share a case study of a church and a university in Japan to see how congregational singing and its environment has changed as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. And I would like to introduce a new hymn by Aoyamagakuin University students who have gone through the pandemic. We held a panel discussion considering the future of congregational plays at the 21st Conference of the Hymn Society in Japan last year. One panelist, Reverend Michiru Urakami, who works at the church in Tokyo, summed up the situation. Although COVID-19 has spread throughout Japan, responses vary greatly depending on church location, church size, age of the congregation, and other factors. In fact, around our church, some churches have continued to cancel Sunday services. Others have continued to hold services as they did before the pandemic. As our session touched on yesterday, there are few Christians in Japan, but we still must deal with a variety of issues in each church. Reverend Urakami's church cancels worship services and hymn singing in the church and switched to online services. Many churches in Japan have chosen this form. To shorten time spent in the chapel, churches have shortened the worship service, including not singing all hymn verses and canceling the communion service. Pastor Shinji Nakayama said, "We were faced with a situation that affected the reason for existence of the church." He questioned what is essential in worship. Our cherished form may have contained many things that are not essential, he said. Next, the university case. University responses differ between East and Western Japan. I transferred from Kansai area in Western Japan to Aoyamagakuin University in Tokyo in Eastern Japan in April 2020. The university was founded by American Methodist missionaries, is now 47 years old, and has more than 20,000 students, including graduate and international students, and about 2,000 faculty members on 2 campuses. The Shibuya campus has a tremendous population density during term time. The kindergarten, elementary school, junior high school, and our university belonging to Aoyamagakuin are all located on the same campus, so we were on high COVID alert from early on. University worship services are held every weekday. Evening services on Tuesdays, the contemporary worship is organized by students. The service began in 2008, but was online from April 2020 when COVID-19 struck. I interviewed students about what they were doing during that period. They said all their activities became online. They became more focused on making videos for distribution rather than creating worship services, lost their sense of community, and were plagued by a sense of helplessness and frustration that they, quote, couldn't do anything. They record days going by when they did not talk to anyone and were immersed in loneliness. We conducted a survey of Aoyamagakuin students and people connected with the Hymn Society in Japan to see how congregational singing and its environment have been affected by COVID-19. Here are a few findings. Questionnaire 2-1, did the time or number of songs for worship in your church change between before and during Corona? About 70% of the respondents answered that there was a change, indicating that many churches considered hymns when thinking about worship services after the start of COVID-19. Looking at 2-2 for the details of the changes, reduced the number of hymns and verses, 31.9%, followed by kept the same number of hymns but reduced the verses, 25.5%, and reduced the number of songs sung, 19.1%, account for almost 18% of the total. And since less than 20% said they stopped singing, it can be inferred that the traditional position of singing hymns or congregational songs in worship services has been greatly shaken. And while about 70% have received an explanation or understand the reason, 90.1%, for these changes, less than 10% do not understand. These subtle figures can be taken to indicate that the explanation of the position of hymns has not reached the entire congregation. In other words, although Japanese churches have been greatly shaken by the singing of hymns in worship services, they have yet to deeply question and explain it to their congregations and share their thoughts on congregational singing with each other. Pastor Yosei Nakano, pastor of Blessing Church International, who delivered homemade meals to church members infected with COVID-19 during the pandemic, point out that the brewing of a sense of community happened not only through worship services and congregational singing. Also, in the Aoyamagakuin University contemporary worship service, the creation and delivery of videos alone did not often bring great blessings to either party, and after student members on the sending side became increasingly exhausted, they were restored through small opportunities to play and gather together. Through the COVID-19 pandemic, I think we have learned that the church as a community is not maintained by worship alone, and that both worship and congregational singing require many prayerful and caring channels for people to connect. Finally, I would like to introduce a hymn that was born after COVID-19. Aoyamagakuin University Contemporary Worship has a worship musician training course, and this is a 2021 original song, What We Have, which was written in the training course. The lyricist Mr. Iwata wrote the song in response to agonizing days during COVID-19 as he read in the Japanese manga or comic book One Piece, very famous manga. All you do is count what you've lost. What do you have now? He was moved by the answer, I have friends. And this song was born. Please listen.
今僕らにあるもの今僕らにあるものは何だろう、仲間がいる家族がいる命がある今僕らにあるもの今僕らにあるものは何だろう Oh, Yes の愛 Yes の愛永遠の命なくならないもの失ったもの失ったもの数えてた下を向いて歩いてた与えられたものを数えたら指の数じゃ足りない他に何もいらない私は満ちてる主の恵みで満ち溢れてる私の弱さの中で主が生きている今僕らにあるもの
Thank you for listening. ありがとうございました。